So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with social media, which chances are if you have social media, you probably do too. I want to start a business one day. So obviously, if I want to be a legit competitor in the future business world, then I kind of have to be active on social media and produce content, market myself, create my brand, all of that stuff. For any kind of entrepreneur or business person, or honestly any kind of work, I feel like social media is a major tool. So I am kind of torn between wanting to be super active on social media to try to get started and build up my brand, and the other half of me wanting to just have nothing to do with the internet and just go live off the grid and never touch a computer again. So I kind of just flip-flop back and forth between these two sides because I really want to be financially independent and have my own business and have my own thing going, so I need social media, I need the internet, I need technology to fulfill all of those goals. But on the other hand, I see how once I start spending too much time on there, it slowly starts to, well, rather quickly starts to deplete my energy, and I start seeing these addictive tendencies come out. I start seeing how dependent I become on technology, and I think that's a dangerous position to be in, dependency on anything. So I know what you're gonna say, the solution is just to balance out your time spent on social media and your time without, you know, that's what everyone says, it's all about a balance. Just use it for work and then stay off of it, right? Like, it sounds so easy, but these products are so made to be addictive. Every mechanism they use behind these platforms is used to keep your attention, which makes it very hard to balance out your social media life and your real life. When you really think about social media and just the internet in general, the nature of it is just so crazy. We've basically created this virtual world and these virtual versions of ourselves. Like, when you really think about it, and maybe it's just because like I'm not really a technical science person, like there is probably a really practical explanation for this, but to my mind it just seems so crazy that we're surrounded by all of this invisible information. If you have Wi-Fi in your house, it's like there's just this energy around you. All of the information that you could possibly pull up on the internet is like just in this field, and then you pick up a device and you call it into existence. But what is the actual internet? Does it only exist if we are observing it, or does it exist all around us all the time whether or not we're engaging with it? And I think this is a really interesting metaphor for life. It is kind of like the Akashic Records. The internet is like this invisible cloud, you know, same as the Akashic Records with consciousness. Everything that has ever happened, been said, been thought, been done was imprinted into the Akashic Records, and anytime we are thinking or get a new thought, we are accessing this information and pulling it up in our brain, pulling it up in our mental screen. Our mind is like the cell phone in this case, pulling up this information and observing it, and the Akashic Records is like Wi-Fi, this invisible field of information that is omniscient and present around us at all times. It's so interesting to me because I think a lot of people are going to be waking up soon as technology advances, because we start seeing more of what's possible about the nature of reality. Being able to hold information in thin air and like transfer it to other devices. It's just, I'm going off on a tangent, but I just think it's crazy. It is basically like a metaphor for our consciousness. Anyway, what was I talking about before that? Oh yeah, so we've created this whole virtual world essentially, where we get on our phone, we get on social media, and we can interact with all of these other virtual versions of real people. We can perfectly curate our own virtual lives, we can edit and touch up our virtual appearance, and we can do all of these things to our virtual selves to perfect it and manipulate the way other people see us and present ourselves out to the virtual world in just the right way, just the way that we want it. It's very strange when you really think about it. But I see how this can be really addicting because you don't really have that same level of control over your physical life. You can't just edit it, pick out the best parts, and perfect it in a way that you want other people to see it. In real life, you gotta deal with all this other stuff. You gotta deal with the behind the scenes, the parts that you don't want other people to see. Having that level of control over your your virtual self is so addicting, and many people start to spend more time in the virtual world than they do in their physical world. They start to care more about how their virtual self is than how their real physical self is. It's so easy to perfect and edit your virtual persona, and I feel like people become so consumed with that virtual persona that they have created for themselves that they start to compare their whole true unfiltered selves to that virtual version of themselves. Forget about comparing yourself to other people. We know that social media is terrible because you just see the best parts of everyone else's lives and you compare yourself to other people. I think everyone's got that now, but on a whole nother level, we compare our real selves to our virtual selves. I feel like some people put out this image of themselves that they want other people to think that they're like, that's not really them, and then they have anxiety about having real interactions with people because they feel like they're gonna let that person down because they're not truly who they are in the virtual world. And I think that's where a lot of anxiety comes from, a lot of social anxiety these days. And I know this is kind of a dramatic example, like not everyone cares so much about being perfect online, but I feel like especially the younger generations, it's just kind of getting worse and worse with young people feeling like they need to compete in this virtual world. They need to be the best virtual person because that gives them more real person points, you know, like real person props to you if you have 1 million followers on social media because your virtual person is doing great. But that is not who we are at all. It is something that we have all made up as a collective. It is something that we've all created and contributed to, and we're adding more and more data and growing this virtual world exponentially every day, and it's just all fake. We only see it when we pull it up on a device. And I think people use this virtual world as an escape from their real lives. When we're feeling down, we can get on social media and seek approval and validation from other people. We can watch other people's content and distract ourselves from ourselves. We can seek out people to compare ourselves to either justify our actions or make us feel better about ourselves, which, by the way, that's something that I am guilty of. In the virtual world, we can pretty much see whatever we want right there when we want to see it, which has drastically desensitized ourselves from the to the real world. We don't have that level of instantaneous control over our physical realities. Therefore, the virtual world seems much more exciting and stimulating than the real world to so many people. And it's so sad because I even see this with like kids in my life. They're so much more interested in their devices and the virtual world than they are with the outside world. You know, they would rather play video games than like be at the beach and go swimming and stuff, you know? It's so sad, but so many kids now just are losing interest in the real physical reality and they're more interested in their virtual reality. What does this mean for our future? Because I feel like this is only going to get more and more intense. And there's so much content out there in the virtual world that is growing exponentially every day, like I said, that if you want to compete for other people's attention, you've got to make your stuff more exciting and stimulating and shocking than everyone else's stuff to get noticed. And that's only going to keep getting more intense as time goes by and data expands. And here's what I think is going to happen. Pretty soon, we're not going to be carrying around a device anymore. We are going to have smart glasses that we wear at all times, and our notifications will project out in front of our face, things constantly overlaid with the physical world that we're seeing. And pretty soon, that's going to turn into contact lenses, and then it's going to turn into optic implants, and we will be permanently living in the augmented world or in a completely virtual world. Maybe you could just tap a button, or by then it'll probably be telepathic communication with technology. You know, AI is getting better and better, and I think pretty soon, instead of having to type in something or tell something to your computer, it will be able to read your thought vibrations and communicate with you telepathically. So let's say you're just thinking about sex one day and there goes an ad for a porn site right up in your vision while you're driving, you know, like just an ad for porn pops up right there because the computer knew that you thought about it, and now it's just popping up right in front front of your face with these implanted smart chips or something. But actually, by then we're not even going to be driving our own cars. We'll probably just get into these pods and push a button and just end up exactly where we want to go. Or not push a button, we'll just think, you know, I want to go to New York and just magically end up in New York. So that is a very extreme version of what can happen, but I really do think we are moving in that direction. We are going to become more and more connected with computers that eventually we will be inseparable from technology. We're going to basically become cyborgs. Some people will just choose to be cyborgs, or maybe eventually you won't have a choice and everyone will be cyborgs. But I definitely know that there is going to be a fusion between us and technology eventually, and that is going to dramatically change the world forever. Our world's already dramatically changed, but that is going to be like a crazy thing. People will become so interlaced with the virtual world that they're not even going to know or remember what's real. I think that's so crazy and fascinating to think about. I'm so obsessed with the future. I love thinking about what's going to happen. I get really excited about thinking about the possibilities. I think there's a lot of potential for good things to happen, but it's also crazy to think about all of the dystopian outcomes that could happen from all of the technology too. And then I start to wonder, where does the ascension play into all of this? I think there is some kind of correlation between the fifth dimension level of consciousness and the advancement of technology. There seems to be something about the growth of technology that can enable us to ascend emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I don't really know, but it just seems like as technology improves, more discoveries will be made, more proof will be out there that helps prompt this awakening that we're going through. It just seems like there's some kind of correlation there that I haven't really figured out, but I want to believe that the advancement of technology is helping us achieve a higher level of consciousness as a collective. Even though I just went through all of that stuff that sounded really negative, I really want to believe that there is a positive future for technology, for us, for humanity, because it is going to be our world in the future. That world already exists right now. Every time I say something, I'm like, oh wait, you know, that already exists right now. Just by me making this video, and just by all these other people making predictions for the future and imagining it in their own mind's eye, creates that future right now. We are all actively contributing to the creation of our future every day with every thought and emotion and feeling and action that's put out there. It is all contributing to the creation of our future as a collective. And on a micro scale, all of the things we do are contributing to the creation of our personal futures. So it's definitely not set in stone. It can go either way, and it will actually go in billions of different directions because there are billions of people on this earth. For every single person, there is a different future. It's just a matter of how many different futures coincide with each other, intersect with each other, and create a collective future. There is definitely going to be a collective universal future that we all feel, but we're all going to experience different things based on what we believe will happen and what we can imagine will be possible. I want to make more videos like this, start making predictions about the future. That way I can put my thoughts into a tangible form, and when these things happen in the future, people can come back at this video and know that I predicted it. Anyway, that went from a social media rant to a what's gonna happen in the future rant. If you have any thoughts about this, let me know in the comments. And I'll probably make a video more about the future of technology and the ascension of consciousness. I need to think about it more first. Alright, I'll catch you guys in my next video. Stay woke.